Welcome to See You in the Lobby, the post WNBA Draft edition. Marissa, how you feeling?
Matthew, how you feeling?
Pretty excited.
Yeah, it was a good draft.
It was
an
fun.
Exciting draft. Our game did well.
Our game was a lot of fun.
Chat was fun.
If you missed it, we did have a trivia game that went live last night. It was a lot of fun. People were competitive, not us, because we were terrible at trivia.
I was not very good.
I don't remember what anybody's jersey number is. I don't know what town they live in. I don't remember what their nicknames are. I was really bad at trivia.
Yeah, you got to really know these players.
No, it's as if I don't spend literally every waking hour watching basketball. But it was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
I'm happy people were hanging in the chat with us, and we'll be doing that game
all W season.
So
if you missed out, don't be sad. It's coming back.
We'll have more prizes. Anyway,
on to your favorite bad team.
My favorite bad team, my beloved sweet Indiana Fever, did something not only good, they did something great.
They did. They drafted.
And I'm really happy for them. They drafted Aliyah Boston.
I'm happy for Indy too. I think she's a player that they need both on and off the court. Obviously, we know how talented Aliyah is, but her personality, I think, is she is that player that you want to build your franchise around. She's very articulate. She seems very, sweet and relatable, and like wants to connect with the fans and the people. I think she's somebody that can get fans back in the seat for Indy, and that's really what's needed, is somebody just spark that excitement around them again.
It feels like when we talk about players who are going to bring their college fan bases to the WNBA, it feels like Aliyah Boston's on the top of that list. Like, she has a ride or die South Carolina fan base that it hopefully now translates to the W, and now those people become Indy fans.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole point of this major transition of like, college basketball is skyrocketing in popularity. Like, yeah, now come watch Aliyah in the pros.
Yeah, because it's all the same players. That's one thing I understand with schools. It's fandom. You feel connected. The league hasn't been around for 50 years where it's like you can with the Celtics. Like, that's a historical NBA organization. Yep. So that becomes like generational fandom. The league, the W hasn't been around long enough for that to happen. So, but it's always been interesting to me that fan bases don't follow. It's the same players.
Yep.
It's the same sport. It's just elevated. It's, from college, it's this pool like this, and then the pool shrink, and you're literally watching the best of the best. So it's always been interesting to me that that carryover you don't see as often. But to your point, I think Aliyah is one that can bring some South Carolina fans to become Fever fans.
Which is great. Like, Indy, I also was expecting them to do something completely wild with the rest of their draft, and they didn't. I think they played it pretty safe, right? Grace Berger, Taylor Mikesell, like they've got players who may make the roster, and I can't say that anything went poorly, which is great.
Yeah,
this is a win.
It was an overall good draft.
I agree
for the Fever.
A Maryland player who was drafted number 2 overall.
Go Terps!
Who drafted number 2 overall. First time that's happened since
2009.
But congrats to Diamond Miller.
Yeah, no, Diamond, she earned that number 2 pick. She had a great senior season. She put people on notice.
Yep.
She played both ends of the floor, and she's an energy player too. And I think that's something that she will bring to many. I'm excited to see her play. I think out of anybody in the draft, I think this year's draft, she has the most upside to be a real star in the W. A few areas that she can improve on, but I mean, there's no perfect players. I'm really excited to see Diamond in the W. Minnesota got a good player. I do want to shout out our Terps and Coach Brenda Freeze, because
pair of first rounders.
She's lost a lot of players these last few. I mean, Shakira Austin transferred, Owusu, then Angel Reese. They all transferred, and people were like, "Oh gosh, like Maryland's going to be awful. This is going to be a down year. They're going to be rebuilding." We had 2 first-round draft picks,
and made the
for
Elite
a team
Eight.
that was rebuilding and made the Elite Eight. And at one point, I think we were number 3 in the country.
Yeah, something like that.
So shout out to Maryland and Coach B for proving a lot of people wrong, and it goes to show it's not all about what the paper says, what the roster says, because you still have to get those players to play together, accept their roles. There's other factors in that. I think they did a great job of playing for each other this season, and again, 2 first round picks,
big deal
in the draft for a team that was quote unquote rebuilding. says a lot.
And major props to Diamond Miller also, because losing 2 co-stars, you never know how that's going to work. But Diamond really like honed in the superstars role, and I think probably proved to a lot of WGMs like she can be a centerpiece.
Yeah. And she can carry a team. And I think it almost was a blessing in disguise for Diamond. And then when we had Owusu and Reese, she took a back seat oftentimes. You know, the ball wasn't in her hand a lot because Owusu was a playmaker. And, you know, a lot of attention was focused on Angel. So it was a blessing in disguise for Diamond that those 2 players left, because she really got to show what she's capable of. And to your point, show that she can be that go-to player and put the team on her back.
I'm excited. I think Diamond's going to get playing time this year, too.
I think so, too.
She's going to play in the mini rotation. That's going to be a fun team to watch.
And now a coach like Reeves, who obviously is a proven winner in this league, I think she'll be able to elevate her game as well.
I do want to talk about a team that at least I feel like they had yet another weird draft. And this is no knock to any of the individual players who they drafted, who I think could be, you know, players in the league. But Dallas made a trade to get the number 4 pick. They picked numbers 3, 4, 5, 11.
They had a lot of picks.
They had a lot of picks, and they're not going to be able to keep very many of them unless they ditch a couple of the veterans. So I don't know how many of those players actually stick on the roster. What did you take away from the Wings?
I think Dallas is just trying to get as many bodies as they can. And, you know, they didn't do a whole bunch of damage in free agency. So I think maybe they just wanted bodies. I mean, I take that back. They had got Shields and Natasha Howard. So I take that back. But I think they just need bodies. Yeah. And youth sometimes is what you need to get for practice. You need bodies for practice. You know, you need bench players. And maybe they see that they can develop some of these players. I don't know.
Yeah, I can never figure out what the Wings are doing. I can never figure out what their like identity is. Maybe this year will be a little different. Another full year of Tierra McCowan. We know what Enrique can do. Maybe Natasha Howard is like a great compliment to Tierra McCowan, but I don't really know what their identity is yet. I think that losing Alicia.
I don't think they know what their identity is.
Losing Alicia Gray stinks. Yeah. So I guess they're trying to plug in a couple of players and see who makes sense. But that if I'm a player in the first round drafted to Dallas, I'm like, shit. I got to go work hard in training camp. Yeah. I could be the number 5 pick if I'm, you know, Lou Lopez Seneschal. I'm the number 5 pick. I'm still like, I got to outwork a couple players.
Yeah. Well, 2 things. One, I think this draft was just a weird draft in general, in that a lot of teams they drafted this draft for possibly next year, more so like 25. Like, I think that was on the forefront of a lot of teams' minds was, okay, is there anybody in this draft that we can draft that's really going to help us become a better team? If the answer was no, then they probably just pick, maybe training camp bodies. But I think a lot of teams were picking, they drafted this draft for future drafts. 1 and 2, to your point about making the rosters, I don't know how many of these first round picks are going to make rosters.
Especially if I'm a Dallas Wing. I am stressed.
I was thinking that the entire draft and the way that teams were drafting, I was like, I'm going to be interested to see. It's going to be a very competitive training camp.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe one of these players will get scooped up as a free agent if they don't get signed. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's how this works. But it's definitely going to be really stressful. The other big thing that Dallas did is trade a 2025 first round pick. That's how they got Stephanie Suarez at number 4. The Mystics got a 2025 first rounder via the Atlanta Dream. So depending on how the Dream finish, it's the Dream's pick. But I can't believe they did that.
And as quickly as that trade happened, that had been planned before the draft.
Oh, for sure.
Because it was like, it happened, then Kathy comes out and says that. For me, that's piss poor management. Sorry to the GM. Sorry to this man.
I agree, though. I agree.
It's piss poor management because everybody is talking about the draft the next couple years. I personally think it's going to be the 2025 draft. I don't think next year we're going to see all those stars come out that people are hoping for. So it's just like, use your common sense. But I would not trade away a first round pick for the next 2 drafts. I wouldn't do it because
unless
the next 2 drafts,
superstar.
1 through, we'll just say next year. Use next year's draft example. All the players come out Brink, Page, Clark, all those players come out. 1 through 8
is good.
Are going to be very like franchise changing players potentially. So I'm not trading that pick. And then if you go but we're talking about the 2025 draft where I think all of those players are going to be. So we're going to have AZ, we're going to have Page, we're going to have Reese, we're going to have Clark. Who am I missing?
Brink Aliyah Edwards, DJ Kelly. I mean, there's a lot of potentially really good players.
Yeah, so it's interesting to me. And yeah, I don't know. And trade for a player that's hurt, so she's not even going to play.
And listen, Suarez could be really, really good, but she has 2 major knee injuries now. She only played like a dozen or so games in Division I, and she was great in them. But again, injury history matters, and you're trading for a risk, and you're trading a pick that could be someone guaranteed to be real good.
I don't understand that trade at all. And if I'm the Mystics, they probably like wanted it in writing immediately. Sorry, are you sure you want to do this? Okay, listen, Kathy, trade, please, immediately, hurry.
Mike Tebow does this wizard shit every year too. He always figures out.
But is that really like not knocking him? Because yes, like you do have to put those pieces in place and have that plan. But is it really wizardry, or like do the Dallas Wings just
fleece? You got fleece.
Like, come on.
Yeah, it
doesn't make like. I could understand that player could play right away, but she's injured. We don't know when we're gonna see her.
If I'm the Mystics, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, if I'm the Mystics, I'm like,
I feel
Birdman hand rub.
I feel real good. But I thought that to me was like one of the spiciest parts of the draft, because in 2 years, I think we're going to be talking about that moment.
Mm-hmm, so for sure.
It was a big one.
It was. I don't get it, but hey.
Yeah, happens. Another one of my favorite things from yesterday was Tanisha Wright's tweets. Trying to get Haley Jones on the phone after she got drafted, couldn't get her.
I had to tweet her. Kids these days, you can only get them on social media.
It was so good. It was even funnier because Haley very clearly had not looked at her phone and didn't know what was going on. And when she was at the podium, someone said like, "So your coach is trying to reach you," and she like had to kind of apologize.
It's fun and innocent. You get wrapped up in the moment. And then it was funny seeing Ryan Howard said the same thing. Yeah, she's like, I didn't talk to her to the post-draft party.
And then did you see Tanisha's like, yeah, but you're a diva. It was good.
But like that banter and interaction shows that what Tanisha's building in Atlanta is special.
It's good.
You saw the quick turnaround in her first year, and you just see the vibes of dream players. What she's building there is special.
And she got Alicia Gray to basically force a trade there. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah. I'm excited to watch Atlanta play this year. I think they're going to sneak up on some folks.
Play today if they want to. I'm ready, but
I think they're going to sneak up on some folks.
My other favorite draft quirk, the 6'10" legend.
Yeah, the 6'10" legend. I mean, she shrunk a lot in the tournament, but apparently she had a major growth spurt since.
For anyone who missed it, ESPN put a graphic after. I mean, they probably weren't prepped for Abby Myers to be a first round pick either. I don't think any of us were. But it said Abby Myers, who was, I can't stress enough, 6 feet tall. It said that she was 6'10", which was
changed position and height overnight.
Listen, that would make her a first round pick in my book.
Yeah, but again, shout out to the Terps. And Abby leaving Princeton and coming to Maryland, great decision for her. Like they talked about on the broadcast, like her coming to Maryland and playing with the players she's playing, and then playing in that conference and competing. It elevated her game.
100%. I mean, being able to prove that you can hang in the Big Ten is a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you'll see a lot of that of like these Ivy League players or these smaller conference players playing their 4 years out at whatever school and then transferring to a high major. Yep. And
works out.
Yeah, it does.
I'm gonna ring.
Okay.
I want Marissa, since she
since I definitely had the best draft outfit in 2009.
Since Marissa had a great 2009 draft fit.
Look, they made me do it. It was so awkward.
I want you to go off and tell us what you thought of last night's fits. First,
I'm just envious that they're able to just express themselves and wear nice outfits, but we don't need to go back to how, our draft outfits were. I think everybody looked stunning last night, but I do have a top 5.
Ooh, we got a ranking.
I'm going to go with Zia Cook, number 1. I thought she looked really, really nice. The dress like had some sex appeal to it, but like still classy draft. Got to go with diamond number 2. Got to go with the Terps. I think her makeup looked great. The color, she looked great. Haley, then Bria, then Dorka. I think those are my top 5.
That's a nice top 5.
Yeah. Dorka looked, it was simple, elegant black dress, fit her well. Bria, I think the color, I love bright colors. And I think she popped. Like I said, diamond, that color on her skin tone. Ladies, great job. I'm a little jealous again that
it wasn't just you. You said,
I was boardroom chic.
I was gonna say you saw Deb Peters also tweeted something about the same thing.
Yeah.
I think every draft class from like 10 years back is like shit.
Literally boardroom chic. That's what we're calling those draft outfits. But no, I think everybody looked really nice last night.
You did see, we kind of hinted at it a little bit, but you saw I forget what account it was. We'll put it up on the video, I'm sure. But had a mock draft for the 2024 draft class, and it mentioned a lot of players you talked about before, Cameron Brink and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Paige Beckers. Do you think those players are going to come out in 2024?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
Say more.
Again, if I could have taken a 5th year, I would have. It's just college it's just different, and I love the experience. But then you tap on NIL money, like one of the big, draws to going to the W. Obviously, like continuing to do what you love, but you're getting paid. Now you're getting paid to do what you love. But now there's no real rush to do that because you have the opportunity to make money in college. And you think too, like some of these players that may want to make that jump to the W to maybe help support family or, whatever it may be. They don't have to do that now because they're getting NIL dollars. I think there's this common misconception that, like, we saw something earlier about Aliyah Boston, her NIL making 118 and then her W salary being 72,000. Yes, but like that's her salary. Her endorsement deals aren't just going to up and vanish.
Right.
She's still going to have endorsement deals. So that's going to take that 72 to well over 100K, probably closer to 2 with endorsements. And she might get a 6-figure Nike or, Adidas deal, and that will take it well over that. Then I'm assuming she'll play overseas where she'll make high 6 figures there. So she's going to make well over her NIL valuation. So like that's a common, like, NIL is just strictly endorsement. There's no base salary. There's no going overseas. But I would understand why a player like Reese, who's skyrocketed since the tournament, why she would want to take that extra year because she's making good money to stack a little more before going into the W. But I think they'll all stay. And if you remove NIL from it, I think they're all competitors. They may want another chance at trying to compete for a title and to build on their legacies. So I don't see any of them coming out. Maybe Clark, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you. I don't see many of these stars leaving in 2024 because why would they? Unless something drastically changes in the WNBA, They're going to make a really nice amount of money playing in college. You're right. For a lot of them, it's going to be a chance to compete for another title. Only one team can win next year, which means either Paige Beckers or Caitlin Clark. One of those two is still not going to have a championship. Mm-hmm. Angel Reese is.
They both might not.
At least one, maybe both. Yeah. Correct. Angel Reese doubled, tripled her followings on every account. I'm going to assume she's going to be one of the most high-paid NIL athletes of any sport next year. Cameron Brink, same. I mean, she already has a ring, but also massive social media following. I'm sure she's going to get NIL deals. I don't see many of those players coming out. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for them to do so. And
then too, like you see some of these players that withdrew their name from the draft this year, and the chatter around that. UCLA's coach said she reached out to some of her colleagues or friends in the W, and her feedback to Osborne was, do you want to, continue to fly charter and have the best of the best, or do you want to, be flying commercial and da-da-da-da-da? And, you see that's been the chatter. But what I do say is, like, you still have the opportunity to go to the W. So it's either you graduate and you're done, or you graduate and play. So I understand, like, it's not the same. It's never been the same.
Right.
these universities have so much money.
Sure do.
So it's not going to be the same. We know the gripes that folks have, regarding certain conditions in the W. So I don't know. It's interesting, but luckily for the W, they only have a couple more years to have to worry about this because people won't have that extra COVID year anymore.
Yep.
The class we're just talking about, I'm pretty sure that's the last that was
That's
the last
the last COVID year class. Yeah.
So we won't have to worry about that. Excuse me, anymore. But it is interesting.
Very. I feel like the extra COVID year has amplified the discussion on NIL and WNBA because we don't usually you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, in the W, you have to be 22 years old.
But then too, again, like this is where, like I know often on the show, like we talk about where we'd like to see improvements in the W, but it seems like it's such a polarizing hot topic, NIL, making that jump to the W, when there's college men's players that don't leave too because they're like Timmy from George Gonzaga. He stayed his extra year because he wanted more NIL money. So there's men that do the same thing, but of course it's just amplified and it's another way to shit on the W when you see it on the other side too. Again, I have my gripes with the league, but like let's make sure like
you're right.
it's a problem holistically in college basketball, not just on the women's side. But I think the portal changes things too, because now it's like, okay, we can jump into your girl Haley.
Let's do it.
I think she's leaving Louisville because she saw what Angel Reese was able to do by leaving Maryland and how her brand skyrocketed.
Yep.
And some coaches just aren't going to deal with all the extra stuff. And Walls is my coach in college. He's about business, so I don't know how much he's like pushing certain things, but I think she's leaving to try to go somewhere where she can build her NIL branding,
which she should do.
Because while she went to a Final Four, we're gonna win this shit. She went to a Final Four. They overachieved, in my opinion, this year by going to the Elite Eight. I think she's a 2-time first team All ACC. There's no reason, in my opinion, for her to leave Louisville. I think. Like, she's been successful there. So the only thing I can think of is that she wants to go somewhere that maybe has a bigger marketing plan for her.
Yeah, which I'd understand, right? Like, this is a time for her to capitalize on being a star player at a star university. There's no guarantee that's going to happen for her in the WNBA. So you got to make your money now.
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing I'm envious of is NIL, because my Maryland teams, we would have made some money, but happy to see the growth. But I think the portal, they have to figure that out, because like I'm from the generation of you make a commitment, you stick with it. And unless it's causing you mental or bodily harm, like I remember my first preseason conditioning day calling my mom, like, Mom, I don't think I can do this. Like, it's hard playing at elite level. And playing in elite in any sport on any level, it's hard.
Yep.
There's going to be moments that you're like, why am I doing this? I can't do this. But you have to stick with it. Like, there was never one point, even Coach B kicks me out of practice I still to this day don't think I did anything wrong. But I remember calling my mom was at this one practice. We were going to lunch after. Me and Ashley Newman get into it in a drill. For some reason, it was my fault. And then Coach B and I are going back and forth. And she's like, get the fuck out the gym. I'm like, all right. So I'm like walking off. My mom is there to see this. Afterwards, like, my mom's not mad at Coach B. She's like, well, you should have done what she said. I'm just like, look, like, but I feel like now kids call their parents and it's like one little hiccup and they're like transferring, or they're calling the coach and complain. Like, there wasn't a moment I ever wanted to leave Maryland, but just knowing how my parents are and how they raised me, you made a commitment. You figure it out. Not everybody's meant to go to a top program and start day one. Everybody's not meant to start their sophomore year. Like, look at Diamond's a perfect example. Diamond got better every single year, and now she's the number 2 draft pick. That's everybody's journey is different. I just think the portal makes it too easy to just, at the first sign of trouble, transfer and leave.
I'm curious though. I think the counter opinion here would be, coaches leave all the time, and you were really lucky to have Brenda Frese there for all 4 of your years. But do you think you might have felt differently if Coach B had left in your sophomore season, in your junior season? Because coaches do it all the time.
Coaches do it all the time. And I think players should have, I think they say your coach leaves, you should be able to transfer and not have to sit out. Yes. But no, you have people in their third and fourth schools. Like, it's you, sis. Like, it's not the school. If you're on your third and fourth school, like, it's you. Like, it's not just, all right, I'm on this world tour of universities. Like, there's literally people like Taylor Mikesell. She transferred from Maryland, Oregon, Ohio State. 3 schools.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. And it's so, but to your point, like, I just don't think they thought the portal through. They make it too easy at the first sight of trouble to leave. There are so many players that are on their third and fourth schools, and it's just like, and 2, I think you're missing out on the college experience, like, by bouncing around from school to school. I don't know. I don't like it.
I'm curious. I feel like we're also talking about the big names, and obviously it's still, for Taylor Mikesell, it worked out. I mean, she was still whatever she was last night, a top 15 pick. But there are so many players who do go into the portal, and there are more players in the portal than there are spots on teams. So I really would be interested to hear stories from players who are not as well known, thought they were going to transfer somewhere else and couldn't find somewhere else to transfer to, because I think that is also that is also an issue with the portal.
It's changing the game. Like, some of my friends that coach collegiately, they're like, one is just hard to recruit in general now because you can't build relationships anymore, and then 2, it's hard to recruit those high school players because sometimes there's not spots left. Yep. Remember, I think it was last year, a good friend of mine, she said they were 1,700 girls women in the portal and 800 D1 spots.
Yep.
So a lot of people, I just think people need to stop making such rash decisions. Like, at the first bump in the road, you're not playing, transferring, because listen, I mean, we all go through it. Like, I mean, there's times I was in a W where I'm just like, I felt I should be playing, but now, like, removed from it and maturing, if you can help a coach win, they're going to put you in the game. So go have a conversation with that coach and ask them, what do I need to do to get on the floor? Like, I think people take it so personally instead of just, all right, I'm a freshman. I have an All-American playing in front of me. Let me learn from this player. Ask the coach how I can get on the floor. I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky, but it's also, like, it's sickening. I think it's creating this generation of, like, entitlement, and if I'm a WGM, I might question somebody's loyalty and commitment and their ability to handle, rough times if I'm seeing they transfer to a school, they transferred 3 times. That's me. And again, I just come from a different era of where you make a commitment, you honor it. Again, unless it's bodily harm or somebody's, like, mentally abusing you. But I just think it's creating this entitlement. It's making it too easy to just, all right, I don't have to push through this. Because real life is hard. Real life is hard. And when you hit the real, like, I always joke and say, now I'm a real adult. When you're a real adult and you're removed from sports, like, you can't just transfer. You can't just up and get a new job. You have to find ways to bulldoze through those hurdles. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, because I know I just rambled a lot, but
it's good stuff.
I feel passionately about it. I think the portal is,
it's good stuff. I definitely hear your side of it. I also see the side where now it is a business. Like, you are trying to make money for your livelihood. So I can see why some players might see an opportunity to make more money somewhere else, and that's why they do it. Because that's a big part of what NIL is all about. So I totally get what you're saying, but I'm trying to put, again, not that I'm an athlete, but if I'm trying to put myself in that headspace of, hey, I could stick it out here, or I could transfer here and make X amount more. I don't know if it comes down to money, and if it's significant enough, I can see why I might go somewhere else, because it is a business.
But who has that really, really worked out for other than Angel?
I mean, it really worked out for Angel.
And because she's where she needs to be. That is a perfect place for her. But you can't convince me that transferring from X top 10 school to why top 10 school
is
going to make that big of a difference in your NIL.
It's always situational, right? It depends on how good of a player you are, because some players like Angel, I mean, she would have been great wherever she wanted to play. It happened that fit was right for her. If you were like a middle of the road player, maybe you're transferring because like I could get a better degree at a better school, and that's why I want to transfer. Like, I know I'm not going to go pro. I know I'm not going to make NIL money. I'm transferring because I want to go to a better school and I want to get a certain degree. I feel like it's very situational, but we always think of the top players because that's who we're evaluating.
I agree. It's very situational, but I think the vast majority are doing it because they...
Listen, there are those people too.
I would actually love to see the percentage of freshmen in the portal.
Same. We should bring
freshman year is hard. Freshman year is hard. You are thrown into a whole new world of like, you're kind of an adult now. You're responsible for your schedule. You're responsible for getting from place A to place B. Time management.
Yep.
You know, extra work, school. There's so many things. I'd be really curious to see how many freshmen are in the portal.
Same.
Actually, maybe I'll Google it.
We can bring up those numbers for a future chat.
Let's do it.
That's good. NIL talk is a lot. I mean, I don't think anyone has like a right answer to any of this stuff. It's a complete Wild West. Like when this was introduced, no rules were really put in place. I still think agents are trying to figure out what's cool, what's not cool, what can we do, what do GMs care about, like how do I guide my player in the right direction for their professional career. We're all just gonna have to talk through it.
No, you're right. And like
it's not sorted out.
It's becoming a business.
Totally.
NIL should have been in place way long ago, preferably when I was in school. I just don't think that the NCAA and I think there's more they could have done to protect the purity of the sport and to not turn it into it. It's always been a business. Let's get that straight. It's always been a business. It's just been a business that the players have not monetized from. But now it almost feels like just a free for all, and it's becoming more so of you're being recruited, and how much NIL money can you get me? It's like that's become the number one thing. Which I mean, it's a business, so I guess so. I don't know. I think there's still more to figure out with it, but.
Totally. Listen,
it literally is a business
Maryland
now.
made some bucks off your guys' championship. That's for sure. Shall we close out with some WNBA commissioner talk?
I don't know if you caught that eye roll, but
yeah. Before the draft, we had some words from the commissioner about expansion and expanding the rosters. I think we've talked about those two things forever. Certainly since I started covering the league like 8 years ago, it's been a focal point, and neither the rosters nor quantity of teams have expanded. And Kathy Engelbert essentially said she's in the due diligence phase of picking out a city, which I feel like we've heard also for years.
Yeah.
And that the league does not seem super interested in expanding roster size, even though some teams can only afford to hold 11 players based on the league's own cap restriction. So, if you could not tell, I have some thoughts about those.
Let's hear your thoughts, Matt.
I have a lot of thoughts. I think this league has been due for expansion for a while at this point. Every year, the talking point at the draft is these players are so amazing, and only like 8 of them are going to be on a team in 12 months. And there's no room for development in the WNBA. If you can't play right this second, you're probably not going to make the team. And then it's on you by yourself to go figure out how to play overseas or play in front of scouts to like get re-recruited or hopefully get like a training camp roster spot and fight your way again. And that's just not like players don't develop that way. You know this. You've been in those training camps. Some players take some time before they become WNBA stars. Think of Benai Delaney when she started her career. Nobody thought she was going to be the Benai Delaney she is now, but she's one of the few that got that chance. And right now, the league isn't built for players to get that chance. Benai Delaney was one of the lucky players. So I really don't understand why roster expansion at a minimum isn't a priority, because in the NBA, you've got 15-player rosters plus two-way contracts. You have so many opportunities to get bodies on these teams. In the W, it's super restricted. And it's the same amount of college basketball teams on the women's side than there are men's. They're just competing for so many fewer spots. And for expansion, if we don't get WNBA expansion by 2025, which we've heard the 2025-ish thing before, we're going to miss a huge opportunity. We just talked about that draft class that we think is coming in 2025. I can't think of a better way to expand the league in a brand new city than to give that team an Angel Reese, a Caitlin Clark, a Paige Beckers, whoever it is. That superstar hype is what's going to get a fan base for one of those teams. I don't think we can afford to miss that window. And I don't know what has gone wrong in the interim and why we haven't settled. We know that there are interest from groups in the Bay Area. We know there's interest from groups in Toronto. So make it happen. I'm kind of tired of hearing the same old speech of we're doing our due diligence, we're doing our research. How much research do you have to do? Like, we've seen WNBA investors are for real. Like, these owners are investors. And if Josiah sees the opportunity, if Mark Davis sees the opportunity, I guarantee there are other wealthy people out there who see that opportunity. So that is my spiel. That's how I feel currently. I just think it's disappointing.
It's super disappointing. And it just feels like they just don't have their stuff together on the W side, because to your point, Bay Area, there's been talks in the Bay Area forever. And Elena has been very vocal about like that's trying to bring a team to the Bay Area and having those plans in place. Toronto, for years, they've said they wanted a team. And I know there's other markets as well. Just popped in my head. One of my favorite retweets on that Kathy, like it's coming in 2025, was Kathy sounds like she says I'm on my way, but I'm still in the shower.
It's amazing.
No, it's to say you're doing your due diligence and blah, 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 blah. Cool. But we all know for a fact there have been NBA teams that have bought WNBA teams, and it's been for the low. It's just like, but if you're connected to that NBA team, then here you go. Here's your W team as like, you know, a bonus for what you're doing for the NBA.
As a treat.
Yeah, and it's just interesting. Not even interesting. It's disappointing, like you said, that it's taken so long when the last year and a half, 2 years, I feel like women's basketball has really been having its moment. Yep. Especially this last 7-8 months between, I have no concept of time because it moves so fast, but since like the semifinals of the W between like Vegas and Seattle to now, I think women's basketball has been having its moment. There's been so many new eyes on it. Like, now is the time to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah,
and do it. And bringing that team to the Bay Area, you would think Kathy would be doing anything under... It's
a no-brainer.
...the sun, anything in her power to help a former WNBA player, not just any former WNBA player, a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, a WNBA champion, and a player that just is very business savvy and has the connections and has the network to make this a very successful organization. You would think she'd be putting all the W's resources behind that, because one, you should want to support your ex-players, especially your ex-players that are doing good and doing well. And two, even if you don't want to do it from this altruistic, point, it looks good. But it also looks good from a PR standpoint.
Sure.
Like, milk that. So it is disappointing that it's taken this long. And to your point, if it's not done by 2025, then maybe Kathy needs to go.
I mean, it's just that's disappointment. It's just the consistent word, especially as we see the NWSL expanding. It seems like every day I'm like, oh, there's another team. Oh, cool. There's another team, which is great. That league is growing too. I think I feel a little jealous. I'm like, I don't understand what the W hasn't done to deserve, or WNBA fans deserve a fresh team or 2 or 4.
I agree with that. Like, there is some jealousy, and you look now, like the Bay Area is getting their new NWSL team. Led by who? Brandi Chastain, one of soccer's biggest names.
Which is great.
You would think, okay, Elena's one of women's basketball's biggest names.
I know. I want to hear less corporate speak, and I want to see finally some action.
Either one of the two things has to happen. We need more roster spots, or we need an expansion team. Exactly. You can't just be chalking them both up to... We're doing our due diligence. We think the roster spots are where they need to be.
Very clearly a problem.
And the thing is, you're the only one that thinks that, because I know for a fact coaches want more spots. Because look at these teams the last few years that have
been... You have 2 injuries on your team, and you're down to... You don't even have a practice squad.
So you are the only one who thinks the roster spots are where they are. And then to your point, every year it's the same conversation. Some of these great women are not going to make a roster.
Yeah.
And like you said the same thing. Some of these players need time to develop. Like there are a lot of players every year in the draft where you see the potential, but they're not able to be developed. So then they might go play overseas a couple years and they kind of just get lost in the mix because then it's new draft class.
Yep.
It's free agency. So pieces are moving. So then they might just be on training camp rosters for years. Like look at Erica Wheeler. She was one that was just on training camp rosters for years until she finally got her break. Something needs to change, one or the other. It's been, because when did you say the last expansion team was?
I think it was like 15 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. And now with what the NBA, what they just are putting in their new CBA, NBA players can now invest in WNBA teams.
That could be key.
So you know what's going to piss me off though?
Say it.
It's going to piss me off so much. If one of these NBA players come in, I don't care who it is, and Kathy gives them a team like this. And I could see it happening because, again, we love using the guys to build our shit. But they have the money and resources, but I know for a fact that some of these other people that are trying to bring teams to the W have the same money and resources.
Yep.
So it will piss me off greatly if an NBA player comes in and gets a WNBA team before others, and it will greatly upset me.
Which hopefully, it's a big deal, as we've learned. Like, these owners have to be just as passionate about what's going on as anyone else, or else the team is never going to grow. That's not to say that an NBA player won't be as passionate, but clearly, if a former W player is in the mix, can't think of anybody who has more interest of actually growing the league than someone who's played in it.
It will truly upset me if that happens, because it's like, really.
We'll see.
Let it be one of the expansion teams. Say, okay, a couple NBA players come in, they get an expansion team, but there needs to be that, and Elena needs to get her team, or that team in like the folks in Toronto need to get their team. It can't, can't just be that and then the other two.
Well, we will see what happens. How do you want to wrap this one up? We talked about a lot of things.
We did. We thought this was going to be a short episode. Then we went on a couple TED Talks. So we appreciate you guys.
Good luck to the editing on this one.
Yeah, good luck.
We got a lot going on. Anyway, thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, we might take a little break and
another
then
episode. Yeah,
then come back for W preview.
We are 38 days. I think I read we are 38 days away from the WNBA season. We are close.
Yeah,
I'm excited. All right, subscribe to all the channels, because I will get in a lot of trouble if I don't say that, and you also don't do it. So, thank you. Bye.
Peace.